Okay, so you want to finally, like, figure out how to lose that stubborn belly fat, huh?
Yeah, it's a common one, right?
Yeah. And you sent us a really interesting YouTube transcript this time from Paul Revelia.
Oh, yeah, Paul Revelia.
And for anyone listening who might not know him, he's a lifetime natural bodybuilder.
Yeah, decades of experience, right?
Yeah, he's been at this for decades, so really brings a ton of real-world experience to the table.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission today is super straightforward. We're going to cut through the noise and pull out those actionable insights from Paul's advice that you can use right away.
Sounds good.
Perfect. Okay, so one of the first things Paul says really reframes the whole idea of stubborn belly fat, right?
Yeah, and this might be a huge aha moment for you, right?
Yeah.
Revelia tackles this head on and says, belly fat itself isn't some uniquely resistant type of fat, right?
Right.
It's just stored energy,
Yeah.
a reflection of your current habits, genetics, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So the real challenge in his eyes is our own, stubbornness to make the changes necessary.
Oh, absolutely. And I love that perspective because I think, we get so caught up in like, is it brown fat? Is it white fat?
Yeah.
Is it this type of fat? Is it that type of fat?
Yeah.
And we kind of like overcomplicate it.
Exactly.
When it really is just, if you're carrying extra body fat, it's there for a reason.
Stored energy. Yeah.
And so
yeah.
kind of like embracing that idea that maybe the stubbornness is coming from us, not the fat itself, is a really powerful kind of like mental shift to make.
Exactly. And it empowers you, right? It takes away that like victim mentality. Oh, this is just how I'm built. Like, no, you're choosing to be this way to a certain degree, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so if you've been feeling like you're fighting this losing battle with your midsection,
yeah, right.
Maybe the question to ask, according to Revelia, is, are you the one being stubborn?
Are you unintentionally holding on to habits?
Yeah, what are those habits? So to illustrate this, he uses a specific example, a guy named Gil. Can you tell us a bit about Gil's situation and why it's so relevant to all of us?
Sure. So Gil is at 185 pounds. He doesn't eat meat.
Okay.
He's got some belly fat. He wants to lose like 10 pounds of it.
Yep.
And he also wants to gain muscle. But in 30 days,
oh boy,
he's training with MyReps. He's not tracking macros and believes that he doesn't need much protein.
Oh, wow.
So this really like
Alok.
encapsulates a lot of like the questions, the approaches that we see, you know, from people trying to change their body composition.
Yeah, it's like all the common kind of like misconceptions or pitfalls all wrapped up in one.
Exactly.
And almost immediately, Revelia pinpoints like a key area in Gil's approach.
Right.
What's the first thing he flags as something Gil needs to address?
Straight up. He says you don't track macros.
Yeah.
Straight to the point.
Yeah.
And this is fundamental to his strategy. If you're not keeping tabs on your protein, carbs, and fat, you're missing out on a huge element of accountability.
Yeah.
You could be eating foods that are really high in calories, but not really building muscle.
Yeah.
Not providing a balanced nutrition.
It's like you're trying to like drive across country without a map or a GPS.
Exactly.
You just don't know where you're going.
You don't know if you're getting closer or farther from your destination.
Exactly. And it's not just about identifying the problem. Revelia actually offers, a practical tool for people to use to solve this.
He points people to his free macro calculator. It's at prophysique.com/calculator.
Okay.
And he really emphasizes that this isn't some generic tool, right?
Yeah.
This is built on scientific principles and, his wealth of experience.
Right.
The idea is to give you a data-backed starting point to understand your individual needs.
I love it. He's like, look, I'm not just, spitting out generic advice here. This is like,
right.
Let's give you the actual tools. Now, Gil also mentioned that he doesn't think he needs much protein. How does Revelia respond to this?
Yeah.
Especially considering Gil wants to build muscle.
This is a great one. Revelia is very, very clear on this point. Adequate protein is absolutely essential to building muscle.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to gain muscle,
right,
along with losing fat,
yep,
then sufficient protein isn't optional. It's a necessity.
Yeah.
It's like the raw material that your body uses to repair and build new muscle tissue.
Yeah, it's the building block.
After you train, without enough protein, you're just limiting your muscle growth.
It doesn't matter how hard you work out.
Doesn't matter how hard you work out.
Yeah, it's like you're showing up to build a house with no wood.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just not going to happen.
Right.
So Gil also mentioned using MyReps in his training.
Yeah.
For those listening who aren't familiar, can you explain what those are and kind of what Revelia's perspective is on their effectiveness?
Sure. So MyReps are like an intensity boosting technique Imagine you're doing as many reps as you can take a breath or two to recover, and then do more and repeat this.
So you're really pushing yourself to like failure multiple times within a set.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, Revelia acknowledges that myoreps can create that pumped up feeling during your workout, right?
Right. You feel like you're really working hard?
Yeah, feel good.
Yeah.
But he also points out that this feeling isn't the primary driver of long-term muscle growth.
Right.
What matters is overall training volume.
Okay.
So the total number of challenging sets that you're doing is more important than just feeling that burn.
Gotcha. So it's more about like the total work you're putting in.
Consistent work over time.
Not necessarily just like I destroyed myself in this one set.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. And that actually connects really well with another point Revelia makes about consistency.
Mm-hmm.
He really highlights the value of having really good workouts all the time instead of occasionally striving for perfect but infrequent sessions. It really is. And it's something, we talk about a lot on the show too.
Yeah.
Because it's like, so many people get caught up in like, oh, I need the perfect workout. I need to have the perfect pre-workout meal.
Right.
And, all these things have to line up. And then they only end up training like once a week.
Exactly. And then they get discouraged.
Yeah.
Because they're not seeing progress.
It's like, dude, just go to the gym 3 or 4 times a week.
Right.
And just have like, okay, workouts, you'll get way better results.
Way better.
Than waiting for everything to be perfect.
Yeah.
All right, let's switch gears and talk about cardio.
Okay.
What's Revelia's preferred method for fat loss, and why does he recommend it?
So he's a big advocate for low-intensity, steady-state cardio.
Okay.
And his go-to is walking.
Walking.
Yeah.
Interesting.
He's got a few reasons why he prefers this.
Okay.
First off, it's accessible. Most people can walk.
Right. It's easy.
Easy on the body, so it doesn't hinder recovery from your strength training.
You're not going to like get injured walking?
No. Also, primarily uses fat as fuel.
Oh, that's good.
And importantly, less likely to make you feel super hungry or fatigued.
Yeah.
Which can make it tough to stick to your diet, right?
Absolutely, because I know like when I do like a really hard interval session, I am ravenous afterwards.
Right.
So that makes a lot of sense for something that's sustainable,
Right.
Like I can see myself going on walks.
Absolutely.
Consistently.
Easier to fit into your day.
Yeah, absolutely. He also touches on this idea of a caloric deficit window.
Yeah.
What does he mean by that for someone who's trying to lose fat?
So if we connect this to the fundamental principle of fat loss, right? Needing to burn more calories than you consume.
Right.
He emphasizes there's like a range you want to be in.
Okay.
You don't want to be eating so much that you're not creating a deficit.
Right. You're not losing weight.
Right.
Yeah.
But you also don't want to be cutting calories so drastically.
Yeah.
Especially if you're training hard.
You'll lose muscle.
You'll lose muscle. Yeah.
You don't want to do that.
So it's like a sweet spot, right?
Yeah.
Where you're effectively losing fat but preserving muscle.
Right.
Or even building muscle.
That's the dream.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, he also points out that for those that are already quite lean, trying to get shredded, the focus really shifts to minimizing muscle loss.
Right, because the leaner you are
during that deeper deficit,
the harder it is to lose fat and not muscle.
Yeah, exactly.
So you really got to walk that tightrope.
Yeah, it's a balancing act.
So if you're listening and thinking, okay, this is helpful, but what's like the first concrete step I should take?
Right.
What practical advice does Revelia offer?
So his immediate suggestion is to track your current food intake.
Okay.
Using a macro calculator for a few days.
Yeah.
This will give you a picture of your calorie consumption and macronutrient breakdown.
Yeah.
Then he stresses monitoring your progress.
Okay.
Things like your weight and waist circumference.
Oh, especially waist circumference.
For men concerned about belly fat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He says that waist measurement's a very reliable indicator of changes in abdominal fat.
Yeah, I like that because the scale can be so misleading.
Oh, yeah.
For
sure.
You could be gaining muscle, losing fat.
Yeah.
And the scale's not moving.
Exactly.
So waist circumference is a good one.
Much better indicator.
Now, I love that Revelia kind of finishes this whole thing with a really direct call to action.
Yeah.
He calls it a kick in the ass.
He does.
Yeah.
What's he talking about there?
So he encourages you to move beyond doing the good things you think you should do.
Yeah.
And start implementing great things.
Okay.
That'll drive results.
So it's like stop messing around.
Yeah, stop making small, incremental changes.
Yeah.
Consider more impactful strategies, like diligently tracking your macros.
Do the things that actually move the needle.
Yeah.
Not just the things that make you feel good.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that.
No more comfort zone.
So if you are serious about tackling that belly fat,
right,
the insights from Revelia's advice are super clear. It might not be inherently stubborn.
Right.
Understanding and tracking your macros is essential.
Compatible.
Adequate protein intake is crucial.
Especially if you're building muscle.
Consistent training volume matters more than perfect workouts.
Right.
And simple low-intensity cardio, like walking, can be super effective.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are like the key takeaways right there.
Big ones.
And that first step, like he recommends, is just get a clear understanding of your eating habits.
Track your food.
Track your food. Use that macro calculator.
Yeah.
See where you're at.
See where you're at, and then go from there.
Exactly. So thinking about Revelia's perspective.
Right.
Here's a question for you listening. What stubborn habits might you need to address to finally achieve your goals?
In your own approach, yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's finally committing to tracking what you eat, prioritizing those consistent workouts over those like crazy intense sessions.
Right.
I think there's a lot of value in what he's saying.
Huge value, yeah.
So we encourage you to reflect on your own journey and maybe even head over to that macro calculator.
Give it a try.
And let us know what you think.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
We'd love to hear your thoughts and any follow-up questions.
Yeah, any takeaways.
This deep dive has sparked, so thanks for joining us.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
And we'll catch you in the next one.